Because actually I think Londoners want someone who can symbolise London. So they want someone that actually is a leader who can be visionary, ambitious. I believe in things that I believe in. My mantra for my campaign is really about ambition, opportunity and enterprise. And I want London to be a London that whether your family's been here for centuries, or your family's been only here for a few weeks, actually this is a London that you can believe and achieve your dreams. And I've always believed in ambition, I've always believed in opportunity, and I love the fact that there are all these businesses in London, enterprise. Actually, that's what makes London exciting. And I think I can symbolise that. I symbolise modern London. And I also know I can reach out way beyond my party to show that actually I can be a mayor for the whole of London. These opinion polls are very difficult. I can't understand how you actually poll Conservative Party members. You know, it's very, and also Conservative Party members in London. And the most accurate ones have been online polls, but actually you and I know what happens. The campaigns say get your people to vote and get them to vote as often as possible. So actually I know when I'm going around London, and particularly most people who vote in an open primary will be Conservative Party members. There'll be lots of other people who've contacted me saying they want to vote for me. But I know that I think my level of support is much higher amongst the Conservative Party members than the polls are showing. And actually what people like about me is the fact that I'm not just talking about the nitty-gritty. I'm trying to say I'm going to take people to a better place, a better London, a greater London. You know, and also how do we tackle some of the problems that we're facing? Practical solutions. So for example, yesterday, you know, there's a whole debate about the airport and where it should be and what it should be. I met with some of the leading partners in the proposal for the Estuary Airport. We're putting together the consortium of financiers. So we're going to come up with a solution, not just a plan and say we would like an airport here, but people are going to come forward and say, here are the plans, this is what we're going to build, and we've got the money, we are going to finance it. That's the sort of mayor I'm going to be, someone who can deliver. I mean, my dad came to Britain in the 1950s from Guyana. He worked on the railways first of all, and then he switched to buses. And one of the reasons I'm here today is because both my parents told me. They both told me there's no limit to what you can achieve if you believe in yourself and work hard. And one of the things I found was fascinating, I think there's still this problem, I think, is that there were kids from my own community, locally and everything, said, you can't achieve anything over here. You know, it's because of our colour, because we're working class kids. More recently, I've heard more people say sometimes now, oh, you know, I can't achieve anything because I'm Muslim in this country, so it's all against us. Actually, I want to show people that that's not true. You know, it doesn't matter where you come from. If you believe in yourself and work hard, believe in God, there's no limit to what you can achieve. And I hope I symbolise that. Because actually the question you have to ask before that is, if I say Muslim, what do you think of? So had they said, you know, would you vote for Syed Kamall or say Sadiq Khan or any other Muslim candidate? I think you would have had a different result. But when you ask people what, you know, when they say Muslim, people have different views. Some of them might think of their mates who are Muslims. Some of them might think of leading politicians. Some of them might think of Osama bin Laden. And you know, and actually, so you've got to work out what's in their mind when they're thinking about a Muslim. I think that's what we've got to be aware of. I know it's a lovely story by LBC, and it's a clever story, but actually, it has no real bearing on how people are going to vote. There are no, if we do the metaphor, there's no silver bullet to tackle the problem. There is no one solution. It has to be done at all sorts of levels. So clearly when there's actually on the face of the crime, you clearly need the police and law enforcement to be dealing with it at the cyber level. But actually, what is causing some of our young people to become, whatever word you want to do, radicalised, become extreme. You know, there's a whole debate about what word you can and can't use over this. But we know what we're saying. Young people who are vulnerable people who are going to commit acts of violence, and they think it's in the name of our faith, the name of the faith. How do we stop that? And once again, I think we've got to be really careful when thinking that government's got that solution, a top-down solution. There's some great projects, great local anti-extremism projects, where actually sometimes it's people themselves who've been extremists and don't want other young people to do it, or they've seen that happen in their community. And what I want to see, and I haven't seen enough recognition of this from any party, to say, this guy in Walthamstow has got a fantastic project. Actually, how can we learn from that elsewhere? How can we replicate that? What will work? If that's what happened in Walthamstow, that's happening in Bradford, and they're tackling this problem, how do we make sure that the people facing the same problem elsewhere in London can learn from that and set up their own project. That's what we should be doing. You know what, I think we are all finding our way here. I think it's extremely difficult. I'd love to say there's a really simple solution and the government should do this and shouldn't do that. I think we all realise, actually, you know, the government feels, I think, that if they say nothing, it won't solve the problem. So therefore they feel they have to say something. And actually most people agree that they have to say something about it. But actually, you know, when you think about the problem happens very locally. And actually sometimes people say afterwards, I knew that was happening, you know, that parent was, you know, not radicalising, but actually we always knew that was happening, or actually it's a complete shock. You can't blame, you know, I mean, there was one parent who blamed the government for his children going abroad or whatever. We've got to take responsibility ourselves. Parents have got to take responsibility. And you know, it's difficult being a parent. You know, I've got two young boys, and you know, you teach them Islam and you teach them about growing up, and you hope that one day that someone doesn't sort of corrupt that vision of Islam and send them abroad. But we've got to be ever watchful. And actually, if we are concerned, or if we're concerned about our neighbours, we've got to work out with the law enforcement agencies a sensitive way of doing this. And I think we're all finding our way. I think what's happening is we're right at the beginning of this process, and we're saying, if you see a problem locally, make sure you report it. That's the first stage. The problem we've now got to deal with is once it's reported, how do we make sure we don't fall into some of the problems you're talking about? And I think we're all finding our way here. I think it's right that we start saying let's report it. So otherwise, if you don't report it, you'll get a problem. But it's how we deal with it on the report. And we're going to have, it's going to be trial and error. We are going to have, you know, people saying, let's be careful about being marked down. And I think we're treading on eggshells here, and we've got to be really, really careful. But as long as law enforcement, government are all sensitive, I think we can find a long-term solution. I'm quite clear, if there's a referendum today, I probably personally would vote to leave, because I've been an MEP for 10 years, and actually there's a completely different view of Europe between Britain and when I'm in Brussels. People in Britain feel that they voted to join a common market, a free trade area, became something a little bit more, maybe, but cooperation. I am surrounded by people in Brussels who talk openly about the European project, talk about the United States of Europe, talk about a Federal Republic of Europe, talk about creating a country called Europe. The other thing I think we've got to recognise for our communities is that since we joined the EU, we have actually, in some ways, I've heard people call it a racist immigration policy, because actually countries with whom we've got historic links, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, people, for our relatives and friends who want to come from those countries now have to get a visa, even though we've got historic links with those countries, even though we've been here for some time. Where someone who's got no link with Britain can come from another EU country and just walk in. And actually that doesn't seem fair to me. So I know people who are saying actually whatever happens in the negotiations, they're going to vote to leave because they think everyone coming from outside the UK should be treated equally, whether you're from the Indian subcontinent or whether you're from Europe. We should all be treated the same. That cannot happen while we stay in the EU. The rules are that anyone from the EU can come in without needing any visas or anything, you know, to work, and that's fair enough. So, for me, actually, it's about what Cameron gets out of negotiation. Cameron wants to get rid of this phrase "ever closer union." If he can stop the EU going towards the United States of Europe or Federal Republic of Europe, I'll be more supportive of the reform. If he can stop this idea of the Eurozone ganging up on the non-Eurozone, because we're not going to join the Euro, I mean, look at it, it's a disaster. Why would we join? Then actually there'll be support for this. If he can get more power back for national parliaments, then actually I think there'll be more support. If he can get some of the restrictive stuff about the employment laws and whatever, let that be decided in Britain. Whether it's a Labour government or Conservative government, let them decide employment laws. Why should Europe decide our employment laws? So if he can get some of those reforms, then actually I'll vote to stay. But I'm waiting for his reforms. I've told him that. No, I'm not ashamed actually, because actually we've been arguing for realism and pragmatism. The problem is, in April, actually there seemed to be a cooperation between governments saying we want to solve this problem, the EU governments. And then what happened is that Juncker, the President of the Commission, proposed mandatory targets for everyone. And actually the deal fell apart. And what he should have been doing is we've got to recognise that whatever we do will cost money. Whatever we do. And actually we can't do nothing. We have to do something. And the problem is there are two extremes in this debate. You and I see these pictures, not just a picture of that young boy who could easily be my young son or anyone else. But actually, the pictures that we've been seeing for ages of people being falling into the sea and dying. What we've got to recognise, actually, is that, we can't let everyone in. My heart says let anyone who wants to come in.
Right.
But we know, as politicians and people here, the tensions it would cause. We've already got a housing crisis in London. Actually letting more people in. And we can't do the other extreme, which is sort of the Australian solution or the Israeli solution, which is to let no one in.
Right.
So actually what we've got to do is find a sensible solution.
Right.
And actually I think what we've got to do is make sure that we are not letting vulnerable people fall into the arms of traffickers.
Yeah.
Because what happens, what they're saying to people, they're selling them a false dream. So don't worry about the laws, you'll get in eventually. Go to Calais, they'll let them all in or whatever.
Yeah.
What we've got to do is the government's got to get together. We've got to agree that we're going to set up processing camps on the other side of the Mediterranean.
Right.
Anyone who wants to come, anyone who wants to flee persecution, anyone who don't want to flee, they are fleeing persecution.
Yeah.
Anyone who wants to come in, and are fleeing persecution, they have to go to one of these processing camps. And we've got to recognise that these will be concentrations because people will go to those places, and they'll probably want to stay around that area. Then you've got to make sure that we rapidly process people as quickly as possible. And then we've got to distinguish those who are genuinely fleeing persecution and not just trying to come here for a better life. You have people who there are experts. I remember when there was the Kosovo crisis,
right.
and you had experts who said actually those people aren't Kosovans.
Okay.
You can tell that. But what you then process them, and then those who are not genuine have to be returned, and even if they come back, and those who are plucked from the sea have to be taken to a processing centre. But those who are genuine, this is where the real nub comes now. The other countries have to step up. Do you know that 6 countries are responsible for 75% of asylum seekers, including the UK? 6 countries. The other EU countries don't want to take these people.
Yeah.
And they've got to step up. But the other thing we've got to recognise is, say a country such as Hungary gives refuge to people, under Schengen they can travel anywhere. So there's no simple solution. That's a lovely statistic to say every town can take 10 people or 5 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You and I know damn well that they won't stay in that town.
Yeah.
And where will they come? Actually, one of the issues of London is so successful, everyone wants to be in London. The government is actually given more money than most other governments to help in the camps, to making sure the people who are fleeing persecution are actually being helped. Yeah. And no one's talking about that. We should be talking about actually what's happening within the camps. And actually our government is giving more money than many other governments.